And calling up our next group, Susan Marinoff from Intrepid, Delphin Ortiz from One World, and Sophie Wright from Fotografiska.
Welcome, welcome panel. I'd like to say thank you to the last panel. Wow, sanitation, crime. I mean, we learned about a lot just then. So, and public transportation all in one panel. I'm delighted to host this panel. My name is Vincent Timpone. I'm executive director at Davila Media and City Guide, and I'm thrilled to be hosting this panel. So we're going to just jump right into it. First, we're going to hear a little bit about what you do, how you became at your position here in New York City, how you became the executive director, how you became the managing director. Susan, we're going to start with you, how you became president of the Intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum. You have that right there to your left.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to be on a helicopter with Deputy Mayor Banks. If I ever have to be on a helicopter, I'll tell you that. So Susan Marinoff-Zausner, I'm the president of the Intrepid Museum, and I will say, as far as how I got here, it was pretty an untraditional or non-traditional route that I took. I actually, when I graduated college, I went into banking, and after a year, I said, this is just definitely not for me, and I had an opportunity to work for Madison Square Garden, for the Garden overall and for the Knicks and for the Rangers. And I was always athletic growing up. I loved sports, and so this was kind of my dream opportunity. And I was there for about 8 years, and then I went on to be the venue director for the Women's World Cup in 1999. And that was the famous, final game where Brandi Chastain took off her shirt, her jersey, and Nike went crazy and everyone went crazy, and all of a sudden everybody knew about women's soccer. And so that was quite an experience. From there I went on to the WTA. I was international marketing director for the Women's Tennis Association. A theme started where I was really an advocate for women in sports, for women in general, for how to inspire young girls with athletes. And after Women's Tennis Association, I was actually asked to be the general manager for the New York team when the WUSA launched, the Women's United Soccer Association, the first professional league for women. And that is where I met Mike Onisco, who is an amazing colleague of mine for many years and also came to the Intrepid with me. So with the WUSA, what was so unbelievable, besides the fact that there were these professional women who had this opportunity, but clearly also were limited in the money that they were making and in the exposure that they had, was that they inspired young girls. And where most of the girls at the time were looking to Britney Spears as their role model, these were these healthy women. They were college educated. Many times they were Ivy League. And when we folded because we ran out of money, it was devastating to me. And so I got a call from a headhunter who said, why don't you try the Intrepid? And I was like, well, what does that have to do with anything I've ever done before? And she said, if you look at the business model, you have to manage your team. You have to improve the business infrastructure of the venue. And she went on to list this. And I came on as business development vice president and vice president of marketing. And so it was right away I understood what all of this was about, and it was about, again, giving back and inspiring young people. Just a little snippet about the Intrepid. For those of you who don't know, it was commissioned in 1943. It was actually being built before Pearl Harbor, but when Pearl Harbor was bombed, it was expedited so that it could help serve our nation. And it served in World War II, in the Cold War, 3 tours in Vietnam, and it was also a space recovery vessel for a Gemini and a Mercury capsule that landed in the oceans. And Zach, who is here, can correct me on any of my history because he knows every bit about Intrepid and is awesome at it. And so it was decommissioned in 1974, became a museum in 1982, and its theme of honor, educate, inspire from 1982 has resonated all the way through today. Obviously, we've evolved quite a bit from that time period, but we have this, and over time, we have this amazing collection of what are almost 30 aircraft, the Space Shuttle Enterprise, which is the largest space artifact in the entire Northeast, the Concorde, the fastest commercial jet, we have a Blackbird, the fastest military spy plane, a jet, and also we have the Growler submarine, which is the only nuclear-guided missile submarine open to the public in the entire world. And it took half my career at the Intrepid to be able to say that. But it is true. But what we do, and what's so important with all these really cool artifacts, is we use them and we crisscross it with the history of the Intrepid and the people who served, 50,000 men, no women served at the time, to be able to inspire those younger generations and be able to excite the general public. So what you know probably is that we have about 1 million visitors a year pre-pandemic. We're building up back to that, and we'll talk about that. But what is most important to all of us at the museum is what we do on the inside of these steel walls. And on the inside of the steel walls, we serve about 55,000, same number, of underserved children, underserved kids in our education programs. 40,000 come on site. We do professional development. We teach teachers. We reach another 15,000 out in the schools, and also with other programming. An important subset of those programs are our access programs. So our goal and our mission is to look through everything that we do. We look through the lens of inclusivity, the lens of bringing all audiences into the museum. And so we do a lot of programming for families with autism. We do programs with families with dementia, families who have hearing impairment, visual impairment, and we work with everything that we've learned through professional training from NYU. For all of the cognitive challenges, we also then parlayed into our pillar programs of working with veterans. And so we do a lot of programs for veterans who return with PTS, families who come together and share experiences, common ground at the Intrepid. There is no place in our region, if you think about it, for veterans to gather in a comfortable, familiar space. So we have become that for them, and we're so proud of that. And we utilize that crisscross of innovation and history to really be able to tailor programs to all of our audiences. So I think I could go on forever. But,
fabulous. But I would like you to, if you can, just tell us a little bit about how 2022 was and what you're seeing for 2023.
So 2022, and I know there's another question that goes more into kind of the history from pandemic and now, but we really saw a comeback in our local and regional, and we'll talk about programming that we've done to attract them. We've seen international from Europe really return. Clearly, we're all missing the Asian market, so that's been a big hit, and we're really hoping that recent news will help that as we go forward through this year. But our last 2 months were stellar. And so they actually beat 2019's numbers. We were very conservative in our projections for everything, 21, 22, even 23. And so we did beat the numbers overall, but really came back November, December, and this first week in January.
Bravo. Thank you so much. Sophie Wright, Executive Director of Photographica. Thank you for joining us, Sophie.
Thank you. So I feel like a bit of a young upstart compared to the panelists with me. We're a very new museum in the New York landscape, founded in December 2019. And I am also very new to New York. I came here with my family in April last year to take up the role of Executive Director. Most of you probably are familiar with the building more from Anna Delvey, Inventing Anna, where this beautiful historical building on Park Avenue South, 6 floors devoted to culture and hospitality. Photographiska, slightly hard to say. It's a Swedish-based organization founded 15 years ago, and we're now one of 3 open museums, with another one coming in Berlin in autumn of this year. We offer a range of activities in the building, a kind of a 360 business. So we have 3 floors in New York devoted to exhibitions, a beautiful loft where we do a lot of programming, both photographic and comedy and all kinds of other fun things. We have a gorgeous restaurant, Veronica, which opened this year in June, or rather last year, 2022, in June again, post-pandemic. A cafe and retail space in our lobby, and a lovely little speakeasy called the Chapel Bar, which was a members-only space up until about a month ago. We're opening it up now to reservations from the public. So, tourism is an important part of what we do. It's about 25% of our overall visitor numbers. But we also have a lot of other arms to our business. And we are for-profit, which is quite an unusual thing in the New York market. So in terms of 2022, it was a bit of a patchy year for us. I think we started extremely strongly. We had a Warhol exhibition, which got great visitor figures to us. And we've obviously been in the very capable hands of David Filipiak, who many of you know, who has been working with us since 2021. And his outreach began with large OTAs, and we joined a number of attraction passes, Sightseeing Pass, New York Pass, Go City. Attended IPW and also in the sort of 2021 period attended many virtual trade shows and family visits offered by NYC and Company, Brand USA, etc. And we employ TravelBeat, a London-based tourism consulting firm in London that works across our ecosystem. So of that 20-25% attendance of tourists, which is relatively low, I'm sure, for many of you here. We would like to be in the 30 to 45 range, but again, we are new here. So the volume is still relatively low, but we're estimating about 10% of our tourism number is coming from partners, and the other 10 to 15% is from direct sales on our website or walk-up. So in terms of 2022, we had an attendance increase versus 21. Wouldn't be hard, I have to say. Nearly doubled our door count in museum attendance. And I think we can say with many other museums in New York, we were still finding our rhythm post-COVID. So there was quite a lot of overflow of programming and exhibitions from 2021. We had rate of year-on-year growth, which was great from a tourism perspective. And our exhibition programming really is at the heart of our audience development. We do 7 to 8 a year, which tour through our ecosystem. Some of them are tailored very specifically to a New York audience. So we're sort of cooking on all cylinders now. We have our restaurant open. It's a very important part of our business. And we had a wonderful opening for Dave LaChapelle, which I think was a bit of a reset moment in September for most of the city. So we saw a huge blowout opening for that, and we've had good visitor figures since then, which has been terrific. We're also starting to get recognised for our work in the tourism community. In 2022, we were awarded Best Hidden Gem in the US by Tickets.com, which was a great one. So in terms of the holidays for 2022, actually, Warhol was very strong for us last year, despite everything. Dave LaChapelle this year. Our door count is about the same year on year, actually. Museum attendance itself, which is about 70% of door count, was up 4%. The week before Christmas, we definitely saw a little bit of a drop-off, group visits and so on being cancelled by the triple-demic, as I think it's called. But the holidays total building revenue was more than doubled. And that's because we had all parts of the business working, so it wasn't just museum visitors, it was our F&B component, live events, etc. For 2023, we're obviously focusing on continued profile, brand, and audience development. I'm delighted Holly Campbell is our new marketing director, has joined us here today. Please do say hello to her. She comes from Superblue and Guggenheim, so brings a lot of experience in the attraction and museum sector. We're also looking to expand our OTA network and do much more sales trainings to the travel trade. We're still spreading awareness, and I am still meeting a lot of people that A, don't know how to say our name, and B, have not been to the building. So for those of you in the room, I would encourage you to come and see us. Major issues we're facing, like everyone, volatility. And awareness, being a smaller organization within a very, very crowded cultural market in New York. Technology also is an ongoing work in progress, let's put it that way. We changed over our ticketing platform in 2021 under new management, and it still needs work, let's put it that way. In terms of 2023, we're really excited. We have 3 major exhibitions coming up. We have a sort of green, amber, red system with our exhibitions, green being the big sort of general audience shows. And we're opening a hip-hop exhibition at the end of this month, hip-hop, conscious, unconscious, with Nas's Mass Appeal. So that will open to the public on the 26th of January. Opportunities and threats, like everyone, the US economy and global events. I think we're also very conscious that we're still in a moment of very high inflation. I believe New York City is now officially the most expensive city in the world, which I found out when I moved here. We're doing what we can to also create access points for audience, lower price points to our property. I'm very much hoping that we can launch 1 day a month free access as well. So although we are a for-profit, we're very conscious about our community and the community building and the access that we provide for people. I should also note that we have actually hired a manager of community to that end with a view to developing those relationships.
That was terrific. So thank you so much. That was a great insight into her business and what 2023 looks like. Next up on our panel, Delphine Ortiz. Delphine is Managing Director of One World Observatory. Delphine?
Good morning, everyone. So a little bit about me. So attractions is actually my second career. My first career was hospitality. I'm a New Yorker. I was looking for a job and decided to apply at a hotel, and I became a front desk agent at this hotel and caught the hospitality bug. And that first career started at the World Trade Center. I was a front desk agent at what was called the New York Vista Hotel at 3 World Trade Center, and left there just before the first bombing, but continued my career within hotels. Moved my way up within rooms division and food and beverage, eventually became a GM, and started working in cities around the country in the role of GM. And was quite successful, but I had another bug to come back home. And the opportunity to work at One World Observatory and to come back to New York City was a great opportunity for me to come back to New York. So I was given the opportunity to take on the role at One World Trade Center and, in essence, begin my second career where I started my first career at the World Trade Center complex. And for me, there's no place, there's a sense of pride in being a part of everything that we do there, what it stands for. And so that's a quick about me. In terms of 2022, we are, we started off, maybe as much as many of you did. We started off slow, or we weren't open 7 days a week. We were looking to find a way to build back the business, and working with our partners and whatnot to make sure that we brought back something meaningful into the space. So we had a first half of the year that we felt pretty good about, and then summer came and it was like, what happened? It wasn't quite what we had anticipated. But then moving to the holiday, I'm so happy that we had the holiday season that we had, a lot to build from in terms of our successes from the holidays. As we look at 2023, it's really, for us, one thing that we are very impressed about is our success in the food and beverage side. We have our restaurant, One Dine, within the space. And even though we were not doing as well as we wanted to from an attendance standpoint, the locals and those that were visiting New York City were really enjoying the food and beverage, or our restaurant and bar within the space. And we actually, in December, our food and beverage numbers were actually ahead of 2019 year-over-year numbers. So, and as we move into 2023, I just promoted, we just have a new executive chef in space. So our vision for 2023 is new chef, new menu, new vision, as we continue to promote that. And also from an event standpoint, we have an incredible event space, Aspire, that was really utilized from more from a business aspect that our clientele. During the pandemic, the team did great in creating these micro packages for micro weddings, the various social events, and we saw some success there. So we were looking to build that within our event space and really to continue to build from the successes we had in the holiday and continue to see an exciting 2023.
Delphine, thank you so much. We're going to drill down a little bit now. So we're going to drill down into where tourists are coming from. So we have regional, domestic, and international, of course. So what trends did you see as the pandemic receded as far as your market mix of tourists were concerned? And a follow-up on that will also be, what are you anticipating for regional, domestic, and international tourists for 2023?
Well, as mentioned, really from a local standpoint, it was really great to see the local interest in coming back and enjoying the spaces. Again, One World or an observatory may not be your first decision to go out and visit from a local standpoint, but having a restaurant up there brought the locals up into the space. And we definitely enjoyed the visitations from our locals. And we see that continuing to build from a domestic and international standpoint, creating, we've taken our restaurant and really not only create an a la carte function, but we have what we call our food and beverage experiences that we've created within the space that's really created some incredible interest from locals and those visiting the city to really create an environment with incredible food, incredible service, and one of the best views in the world, to be quite honest.
Terrific, thank you. Sophie, please share with the group what you're seeing as far as domestic, international, and regional tourists and what your expectations are for next year.
So Fotografiska has got quite a loyal local following. I mean, we're in quite a residential part of the city, actually. And with our restaurant and our membership, which I didn't mention, we have over 2,000 members who skew very much towards the local. It's a good, strong revenue line for us. So we saw, again, to echo everyone else, the local tourism market bumping back more. I certainly noticed just in the number of sort of business visits and so on that I was getting professionally that business visitors definitely came back strong in September. There was a lot of people coming from the UK, coming over to New York, doing lots of visits, doing a little bit of tourism as well. I think we still have to recover more globally. Certainly the Asian market is definitely still in recovery. We will actually have a Shanghai space opening hopefully towards the end of this year. Well, let's see if that happens based on the opening up policy there. But I think one of our strengths is obviously that we are part of an international ecosystem. David's now working across that, David Filipiak. And I think in time that will sort of kind of become sort of interconnected and feed people across the ecosystem, but definitely still work to do there.
And so certainly you mentioned before you're at about 25% tourism right now and want to get that number to 35 or
35,
40%.
40 thereabouts.
And so you see that coming from the international market, from the domestic market?
I mean, I think we can all say the domestic market has been really important this year, and I think ultimately we're looking to get much more from the global market. A lot of Europeans coming over that are familiar with our brand in Stockholm, for example. So that's really our target.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Susan, please tell us your market mix, regional, domestic, international, and what you're seeing for next year.
So just to even give the baseline, 2019 and prior, our breakdown was about 55% international. And so we would have about 30% domestic and 20% or so that would be regional and micro local, our micro community. And so to bring it forward, obviously 2020 was a hit. We opened up in 2020 at the end of the year. We then closed down because it wasn't the right move. We weren't ready yet. Opened up again in April of 21. And so again, we saw very small numbers of local and the micro community coming back, that regional community, and a little bit more from the East Coast, domestic East Coast and Midwest coming in. And then as we went into 2022, and our programming came back, that was offering opportunity for local and for regional. Local and regional started coming back, and we started seeing some of, as I was saying before, European market coming back. And so while we all spoke about 80 to 85% of 2019's numbers in 2022, we see that the the percentage delta is really that Asian market coming back in the balance of international. So, clearly, again, we speak about inflation, all the other challenges, and who knows where that's going to temper out, but hopefully by the end of the year, that gap will be filled.
It's terrific. It's great information. Thank you. And so to that point, we talked a little bit about inflation. And so passes are very important in our community, especially as it relates to our museums and our attractions. So talk a little bit about the passes, what they meant to you in past and what you see for them moving forward.
So again, as a baseline from 2019, passes are a big part of our attendance. There's no doubt about it, and we're grateful for being able to be part of them. Everybody took a hit in their business, passes took a hit in their business, and as we are now rebounding and we're facing those challenges of inflation, the pass programs are just that much more important. It's important for people to feel that value before even walking in the door. And so that is very, very important to us. And the pass programs have to evolve. No doubt about it, but everyone has, and you're still growing in your market share, so that continues to be incredibly critical for us, and we love the opportunity of being a part of it.
Terrific. Thank you, Sophie. Please share a little bit about the passes and how they work for Photographica.
So it's obviously one of the first things that David introduced with those relationships in 2021, and I would say that it's a good indicator of growth, which in 2022, I think we had about 6 times more attraction pass guests than in 2021. It's still a work in progress, but it's developing for us.
Terrific. Very important. Delphine?
Just one comment. Thank you. We needed the passes. They really were our lifeblood in 2021, and we continue building those relationships. Again, we're all customers too, right? We all want options. And those passes serve as options for those visiting the city and giving them the opportunity. New York City has become a city of observation decks. There's no other place in the world that has more observation decks in one area than New York City. So, we need to give our visitors options to not only visit us, but to visit multiple decks as that business continues to grow in the city.
I mean, that's terrific, right? I mean, it's an expensive city, and there's so much to do here. We want to be able to present those types of options for our tourists when they come.
And I'm sure many of us utilize these passes when we visit other cities as well, right? Because we take advantage of
we certainly do, right?
That option.
So you spoke a little bit. I'm going to leave this with you for the moment. You spoke a little bit about creating special events and how that's helped your local market and your regional market. Share a little bit about what special events did for you a little bit more, and talk about your plans for next year, please.
I hate to shut you down, but I must.
I'm having fun.
The music is playing.
Fun.
The music is
the
playing.
Lights flash or anything. What?
The red light, there's Heather.
Oh, you're in the wrong. You're way too short. Is that wrong? That's wrong of me. All right. Anyway, I will pass this. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you so much for sharing your information. Thank you to all the panelists. And I'll pass this back to our CEO, David Miller.
Yes, I want to reiterate. Thank you to all the panelists. Boy, did we get a lot of information in 3 hours disseminated. So 2 last points. One is our commitment, Dabbler Media Cities Guide's commitment, is to continue to provide you with data, information to help you grow, to help you navigate these waters that are still getting less turbulent, but we're going to bumps along the way. And as Linda mentioned, Women in Tourism will be our next big event in May. There's lots of opportunities to participate. Certainly nominate a woman in your organization. Nominations open January 30th. And those interested in participating and sponsoring, we'd love to have you. So a big thank you to Andrea and the Redeye Grill.